A couple months ago, I wrote a blog about our relationship with God and religion, belief systems, and whatnot. And it was quite lengthy. So I decided to read it out loud. That way, for those that don't like to sit and read for a long time, may still enjoy it and may find my opinion, useful. So here he goes. Today in church, I came to the conclusion that our relation to God may be the reason so many of us have parted with the ways of the church. What do I mean by this? According to Oxford, the definition of relation is a thing's effect on or relevance to another. Growing up in the church, I was under the impression that God lives out there somewhere in the heavens, beyond the sky. At times, I remember some say that he lives in our hearts as well. But I feel that wasn't really explained well, or maybe I wasn't listening well. I also remember many aspects of God and Jesus that were driven home and that I read from the scripture, such as him judging us, the need for us to love him, give ourselves wholeheartedly to him. At times, I read or heard about him punishing us and even getting angry. I remember he also turned his back on some people, taught tough lessons in life. And I also remember reading that we did not think as he did. At some point, the whole concept just didn't hit home. I wanted to believe, and there was so much that I felt, but almost equally so much that I didn't feel or couldn't feel. The relation that I had with God was just not what I had learned God was. Nevertheless, I always felt there was more to life than us becoming so lucky as to becoming human beings. The probability of you existing at all comes out to 1/10 to the 2,685,000 exponent. Yes, that's a 10 followed by 2,685,000 zeros. Ben Arzer concludes that the odds of you being alive are basically zero. Ali Benazir. I pretty much left the church with the thought that there must not be a God, since it just didn't make sense to me. Many times I wanted a relationship with him. Throughout my life, I found myself in need of his direction, of his advice, his love, his support. At some point in my life, I discovered philosophy, the study of wisdom. Somehow this all brought me back to God in a way. After some time studying philosophy, I determined that maybe I was simply following the wrong religion growing up. But that in actuality, there is a God after all. I began my journey studying and being exposed to different religions and ways of life like Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Bushido, Judaism, Toltecs, and some others. I felt that I was able to look at the relation of God and I from many different lenses, from him being all the way out there to all the way from him being all the way out there, all the way to him not existing at all. Throughout it all, I've kept my Christian beliefs while having many doubts, if that makes any sense. I don't feel that I would feel the same as I do unless my journey included all the religions, practices, and philosophies that I have learned and been exposed throughout my whole life. Through the years, I've continued to attend different churches, and I teach my kids about God, the parables, and the lesser confusing lessons I've learned. In trying to do my best with my children, I have focused more on the God that lives within themselves and the relationship with their inner self or God rather than the God that lives beyond the skies. I've spoken to them about praying like they're having a conversation with themselves or a friend and focusing on being grateful for the life they have and everything in it. I have a very deep feeling that one, if not the most important aspect of life, is the relationships we have. The relationships we have determine who we are, become, and each one demands a different version of ourselves. I am a different version to an extent with my mother, my wife, my friends, my coworkers, etc. I may be having a simple contemplation or maybe a conclusion, who knows? Maybe it's wisdom kicking in at my tender age. Or maybe I'm completely off base. But I think what has made me struggle so much throughout the years was simply my relation with God. I feel that God within has been trying to clarify it all along through my instincts and or through the many signs, books, sermons, videos. Sometimes we may just need to listen intently and truly believe in ourselves. Believe. I can recall the book Conversations with God, which the author wrote himself, even the parts where God was speaking to him. And he never claimed that the spirit or some astronomical or metaphysical being wrote it in some ways. I've always believed in God, just not the God with the devil to his left and Santa to his right, sitting on a throne way up there beyond the heavens. I believe in a God that resides within me, as he does in you and in every living being. When we speak of our soul, I believe that's the God within us. Not too long ago, I wrote a blog about the heart, our heart alternator, which I concluded to be God. We know everything in existence runs on some sort of energy, yet a human being's Energizer Bunny only stops when we die. The heart pumps blood through our bodies, but who or what beats our heart? I believe it is the God within ourselves. I don't know what's out there beyond the heavens and the sky. As far as I am concerned, the gods may be playing marbles in some infinite galaxy and we're simply bacteria on this little marble we call Earth. What I do know is that I am part of something bigger than myself. I am interconnected to this earth. I am not above this earth, but of this earth. I believe that the truth cannot be told. Hence why in most religions we learn by storytelling, by parables. When we listen to a story, we can picture ourselves as part of it and feel like we can experience it. The truth can only be experienced. I think we're part of the whole organism that is life and all that it involves. I believe the devil that Christianity taught me about lives within our mind. And he only shows up if I don't have a good relationship with God, with myself. If I have negative self-talk, the devil shows up in no doubt, in doubt, in anxiety, in anger, in hate, in disappointment, in negativity, and so on. The stories are endless throughout every religion and every way of life. We just need to listen. An old Cherokee is teaching his grandson about life. A fight is going on inside me, he says to the boy. It is a terrible fight, and it is between two wolves. One is evil. He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. He continues. The other is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside you and every other person. The grandson thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, which wolf will win? The old Cherokee simply implied, the one you feed. In the East, Far East, we have the yin yang, where it is believed that there's a little good in each evil and a little evil in each good. Yet the reality is that life itself contains the whole yin yang. The whole thing is part of it. In the Far East, we also have we're perfectly imperfect. And in the West, we're born sinners. Both are correct, yet we're not necessarily broken or damaged goods because of it. I recall reading the story of the Toltecs and the smoky mirror with a resemblance to the reason why in a Hindu temple, which had a mirror in the front, the end result is to find your true self. Maybe the God within you. In the Hindu practices of worshiping in front of a mirror, the mirror's placement symbolizes that God is inside oneself. And it is of no use to seek God elsewhere. That I found in Wikipedia. And this was Jesus' quote. Truly, truly, I say to you, whoever believes in me will also do the works that I do, and greater works than these will he do. End quote, Jesus. In my aspect, he's saying he's no different than us. We could do greater things, even than he did. The lessons about treating the body like a temple seem to go in line with my thoughts here as well. The mind is a beautiful thing, but it does go a million miles with no destination many times in our lives. I can see why meditation is needed to slow it down a bit and focus, quiet the mind a bit, and breathe deeply to energize and fuel our temple. Nature is perfect, and in breathing deeply, we give our God within a breath of fresh air. Pun intended. Jesus was put to death for committing blasphemy, for saying him and the Father are one. I think the same. I think he realized that God lived within him rather than out there. I just think Jesus couldn't say it in any other way. I don't think he was trying to offend anyone. I don't think he thought himself better than anyone else. He preached to believe, and you too could do these things. Whether or not history is accurate or not, I get the lessons from his life. I find endless life lessons in the scriptures and in other ancient texts. But I do take them as face value. I do take them for face value. I don't really believe in unforgivable sins or an absolute on a life that was created on the premise of evolution. According to Oxford, evolution, the gradual development of something, especially from a simple to a more complex form. End quote. I do believe that we humans struggle with simply stating the fact that we don't know all things. Coupled with the fact that for centuries, nations have used religious scriptures to control the masses. I tend to utilize what my intuition, maybe my God within, shows me I can use to grow and to be the best version of myself that I can, and leave the rest without even judging it. I do my share of jogging, and I work mostly on my self-talk through these runs. I'm very frank with myself. Thanks to some of my best mentors, authors of philosophy, self-help, motivational, and nonfiction books, I have learned how to call myself out and be critically honest with myself. On my time jogging, I often judge myself, rightfully so, while not partaking in negative self-talk, which, if you ask me, it's an art form to call yourself out and yet not have negative self-talk. I believe self-love is incredibly important while not becoming egotistical. Until one learns to love oneself, one cannot learn to fully love another. This has been proven over and over many failed relationships between an endless number of people in this God-given green earth, including in my life and in your life too. If I am known for one thing and one thing only, when I'm gone, my hope is that it will be on my undeniable discipline. Keep moving forward. I believe that no matter what anyone thinks, says, or does, I must trust the process. I must trust myself and wholeheartedly be disciplined in my belief in myself, my true self, not the materialistic, egocentric self, but that God within me. There have been a couple times where I got off course for one reason or another, and I have made it a point to make up for my misstep because I was angry and disappointed at myself. For example, last year in 2020, COVID hit and I went almost a month without running. So I began running again. I ran for 30 days straight without taking a day off, while still spending quality time with my family and working an unreal amount of hours. Some may call this punishment. Through the years, I've come to the conclusion that sometimes we need to turn our backs on others in order for us to do what's right for ourselves, to save ourselves. Not everyone is in the same journey as you, and everyone doesn't need to be on it. But sometimes you just need to let go and let God. I know this bag of bones that I call my body is not who I really am. Furthermore, I know that there has to be something or someone that has created this whole thing. It may have all started from the Big Bang, but there's no chance that life has continued on a daily basis with the odds above. The fact that oxygen is poisonous to almost every other life form, rotting most life, yet we thrive in it, is miraculous, to say the least. Knowing that I'm not this bag of bones, knowing there's a higher power, and knowing that although I'm part of it, I'm not it all, I realize that I don't think like said higher power. If said higher power even has to think, and I don't fool myself by thinking such an egocentric idea. The above statements help me make sense of the original statement I began in this article. Those 5 statements, 5 questions I answered right there. From angry God, a God that punishes, and etc. I also remember many aspects of God and Jesus that were driven home and that I read from the scriptures, such as him judging us, the need for us to love him, give ourselves wholeheartedly to him. At times, I read or heard about him punishing us, even getting angry. I remember he also turned his back on some people, taught lessons in life. And I also remember reading that we did not think as he did. And in that paragraph above that is where I answered all that, to my opinion. Again, I state with certainty that I needed to be exposed to everything I have been in order to come to this contemplation. As you can see, many religions, ways of life, and philosophies have been used in the examples above to come to this. In Taoism, it is held high that we are organisms from this earth rather than a creation. As Alan Watts put it, the way the apple tree apples, the world peoples. End quote. It is held with high regards that we are imperfectly perfect in the same way that nature is. The stars, the clouds, the leaves, the grass, and such, chaotic yet perfect, asymmetrical yet perfect. In Buddhism, it is believed that karma is all about the undeniable laws of cause and effect. It is also based on the belief that life is suffering, Four Noble Truths. Look it up. And that there can be an end of suffering, Eightfold Path. Look it up. Which basically tells us to live a righteous life. My mother is a Judaism practitioner, which has many resemblances to my previous Christian teachings. However, what has impacted me more on this way of life, being that she is an Orthodox practitioner, is the ridiculous attention to detail and unwavering discipline to each and every practice, from what utensils to use with which foods to different prayers each time one washes one's hands. The faithful rituals each and every Sabbath from sundown to the absolute end. I can appreciate such discipline. I can go on into each and every religion, culture, and way of life to prove how each and every one has created layers of truth based on my experiences that prove they all have the same message. And to at least a certain extent, and in a real way, they are all correct and right. The message is, in all is the same. Live a righteous life. Every single human being that I have asked and had a deep conversation with has had the same exact goal in life. Everyone's goal or destiny might be colored with a different brush, but they all read the same. To leave this place better than it was when they got here, when they found it. To be a good human being, a good person, a good citizen to this God-given green earth. That's the goal. I may not be the smartest person in the room, and this may be the reason I prefer simplicity. The simple lesson extracted out of a bit of a complex life lived is that we should live a righteous life. We're all the chosen ones. Like the elder Cherokee said, the same fight is going on inside you and inside every other person too. One of the many commonalities between the different paths is to be a great example, to be born again, to be a witness, to be enlightened, etc. I don't recall any of them claiming to do so since you're different. The reality of it is that you're all the chosen ones. However, you also have the same struggle as everyone else. And as a matter of fact, is chosen as well. They're chosen as well, even with the struggles. You must go through the path, overcoming anxiety, depression, physical emotion, and spiritual battles. I always say the most important aspects of a leader is his example. I see why a monk goes through that practice. The missionary puts their life on hold to serve, and so many examples throughout every culture, religion, and way of life. I have said to some close to me that I cannot marry a religion because I don't want to disqualify any others. They're all right at their core. I'm not blind to the fact that many have some aspects that we may not understand, agree with, or that are darn right wrong. But that's what we human beings do sometimes. We try to make sense out of things and mess them up in fear of admitting that we just don't know. That we don't think like the higher power. Maybe that's why Socrates, one of the wisest human beings to ever walk this earth, said, I know nothing except for the fact of my own ignorance. I love them all, and they have taught me so much. May God, with a capital G, or God, with a lowercase g, Yahweh, the universe, Krishna, whoa, or your true self, whatever you call it, bless you dearly, and may you listen intently when the message is there, and may you have the foresight to know a sign when presented with one, or in my case, a huge amount of them. I love you all. Get down. I love you all. I hope you understand that. You can go to modern-evolution.com and find that blog along with all my other blogs. This one is called From Abolishing Religion to Adopting Them All. And it may be easier to read it, but I wanted folks that don't read much to be able to listen in. They might find it useful. I love ya. You have a beautiful day. I have my partner over here is